So it seems India is not putting that kind of approach in allowing the George Soros Foundation to carry out these projects in various parts of the world. So do you have a comment on that?
Comment. Okay. There's a hand behind. Okay, Swasini.
Just in addition to the other questions about Ukraine, firstly, I would like to clarify that there is no plan at present to include Ukraine in the G20 process as they were included last year during the Indonesian G20 summit. And the second is your reaction to a statement made by the Ukrainian Deputy Foreign Minister, who said that some of India's actions demonstrate an unbalanced position. She was specifically referring to the visits to Moscow by senior Indian ministers, including National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, and said, why don't they come to Kiev as well to balance out India's position? How would you respond to this idea that by not going to Kiev, India has not demonstrated that it is balanced in the war?
Okay. There was some. Okay, that's it. Let me try to. There are a few second round questions. Let me see what I can. Shinja, yes, there have been talks of trying to get IITs there. I don't know about EM's visit to Tanzania. He went to Uganda and Mozambique, but IITs is something that we are working on. Once we have a confirmation, which will be the first one. I think there are a couple of places that discussions are going on, but yeah, Tanzania could be one of them. Once we have the good news, we'll certainly share with you. Yeshi, there are a few questions on Ukrainian Deputy Foreign Minister's visits and various elements. Yeshi, no, I will not be able to position to share the contents of that letter, much as though you would like it. We had issued, a detailed press release on what discussions covered, and that's a good sense of how the conversations went. You wanted to know in that, did you ask on the infrastructure? Who asked on the infrastructure? You had asked on the infrastructure. Look, there is of course a situation on the ground, and when the infrastructure, I'm not sure how much of it is right now that the conversation dealt with, but certainly there is a relationship that we have with Ukraine in terms of cooperation, and many of the issues were discussed in terms of stronger economic linkages. I don't know if any company has actually mentioned anything. I'm not even sure if reconstruction is happening in that perspective. So let me not prejudge that already to your part of it. नीरज, आपका सवाल था कोई इनवाइट आया था उसमें. देखिए वो हाई लेवल विजिट्स इस तरह के आपने एग्जैक्ट इनवाइट क्या था? देखिए ऐसे उन्होंने देखिए पत्र में क्या था मैं नहीं कह सकता, जैसे मैंने कहा ठीक नहीं होगा, पर उन्होंने खुद कहा था कि हम चाहेंगे कि वो आए प्रधानमंत्री. पर ऐसे विजिट्स जैसे आप जानते हैं हाई लेवल विजिट्स अभी इस तरह से अनाउंस नहीं होते हैं. अगर कुछ मेरे पास अपडेट हो तो जरूर आपको बताएंगे. As regards, let me just take the defense Ukrainian one. On the G20, Suhasini, your query, look, let me repeat what I said. The question was specific about, will India invite Ukrainian officials or president of Ukraine to address the G20, and my answer remains the same. We have answered this question. Most recently, the Foreign Secretary answered it here, and I have nothing new to add to the matter. As regards, I'm not going to get into comments of a visiting leader. I don't know in what context it was made. If there is a visit to Ukraine from any leader here, we'll certainly announce that. Our position on the conflict in Ukraine has been articulated many times. I don't know if the word is unbalanced is not something that we have worked with. We certainly have worked towards peace, and I think that's what dialogue and diplomacy is what we've been stressing. So if there is a visit or anything like that, I will certainly share that, but I don't want to respond to a specific word or without knowing the full context. As regards प्रणय, आपका प्रश्न था डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन भी, उसी में उसके हमने उसमें जिक्र किया था कि हम असिस्टेंस दे सकते हैं, मेडिसिन मेडिकल इक्विपमेंट वगैरह. हमने हमारे जो प्रेस रिलीज की बात कर रहा हूँ, और उसमें हमने इस बारे में बात की थी कि हमारे इस तरह से स्ट्रेंथन कर सकते हैं कोऑपरेशन यूक्रेन के साथ. पर मेरे पास अभी इमीडिएट डिफेंस सेक्टर में हम क्या करने वाले हैं या कर सकते हैं, इसके बारे में कोई ऐसा अपडेट है नहीं. पर काफी हमारा डीप कोऑपरेशन रहा है, और उसके काफी एलिमेंट्स उस प्रेस रिलीज में है. पेंटागन पेपर्स, लेट मी स्टार्ट विद दैट. आपका जो क्वेश्चन था, मैंने कुछ देखा नहीं है उस पेपर्स के बारे में, ना कोई इंडिया के बारे में कोई जिक्र है, मुझे इतना जरूर मालूम है, तो इसीलिए अभी मेरे पास कोई कमेंट नहीं है उसके बारे में. श्रीधर, यू आस्क्ड अबाउट चार्जेस ऑन the Indians detained in Qatar. My understanding is the charges have not been unsealed. It's not yet public, but as the legal process unfolds, perhaps they will be. We're keeping an eye out on that. Manas, your question was regarding a media report regarding the UN Democracy Fund. You mentioned something about George Soros. I don't want to get into exactly what the report, there were a couple of reports, but let me just make a larger point which you are saying about dealing with organizations of George Soros versus UN Democracy Fund. I think these are separate issues, and I think there's been a attempt to mix all this and have perhaps a misleading image of the overall situation. So let me clarify. One, as a responsible member of the UN, India participates in and promotes various UN activities. This includes contributing to a number of voluntary funds and programs of the UN. The UN Democracy Fund, the UNDEF that you referred to, is one of them. Incidentally, this fund, this UN Democracy Fund, receives funding from, I think, nearly 45 member states, including, of course, India, that you referred to. Now, UNDEF allocates the funds received to numerous projects across the world, projects being executed by various organizations, and in this process, it is guided by UN norms and procedures. So, as I said, these funds are allocated for various projects and across the world, and then various organizations implement this. So that's our contribution and participation in the UN UNDEF Advisory Board or UN UNDEF organization itself. Now, there are comments also related to, as you said, George Soros, etc. And I remember in the report there was some reference to EM's comments. Look, on the EM's comments, I think they stand on their own merits. And I certainly wouldn't, I don't think they require any clarification. All I would say is EM's main point was that democracy or people's verdict in democracies must be respected, not undermined. And this important principle